Namaskara. Good morning and welcome. On behalf of my colleagues who are present from the Department of Defense, the U.S. Embassy, New Delhi, and the U.S. Consulate General in Chennai, we appreciate you all taking the time today to join us in person ahead of tomorrow's inauguration of Aero India 23. Today's press conference will feature remarks by our four officials, followed by a brief Q&A session. Please hold your questions until all of the speakers have given their remarks. And please switch off your mobile phones to silent now, please. And our speakers will pose for a photograph at the end of the Q&A. The first speaker this afternoon will be Ambassador Elizabeth Jones. Ambassador Beth Jones is a Foreign Service officer with a personal rank of Career Ambassador who is serving in India as Chargé d'Affaires for the United States. She was Ambassador to Kazakhstan and Assistant Secretary of State for Europe and Eurasia, and later for the Near East. Her overseas postings included Kabul, Cairo, Baghdad, Islamabad, West Berlin, and Bonn. She has worked in the private sector and has served on the boards of several American nonprofit organizations. Over to you, Ambassador Jones.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's an honor for me to be here with you today for Aero India 2023. The size of this year's U.S. delegation to Aero India is one of the biggest ever. It's my pleasure to be joined here today by my esteemed colleagues, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Royal, Major General Cheatham, and Senior Defense Official Rear Admiral Baker. The U.S.-India strategic partnership is one of our most consequential relationships. Our delegation size here today, our impressive pavilion that will open tomorrow, and our growing diplomatic and security cooperation over the last year is evidence of this. In that connection, we congratulate India on its G20 presidency and look forward to a robust U.S. participation. India and the United States are crucial partners in so many ways to ensure a free and open, prosperous, connected, rules-based, and resilient Indo-Pacific region, where our democracies can thrive. Indeed, yesterday was the first anniversary of President Biden's Indo-Pacific strategy that underpins this commitment. So, India is our partner of choice. That means we're working together to address climate change, improve global health and preparedness for new pandemics, cooperate on cyber challenges, build quality infrastructure, and ensure sustainable supply chains. We're strengthening our cooperation on critical technologies, from space components to semiconductors. 2 weeks ago, National Security Advisor Doval met with counterparts at the White House to launch our initiative on critical and emerging technologies. They pledged to accelerate joint development and production through a bilateral defense industrial cooperation roadmap. Of course, economic growth is the key to making all of this possible. There are so many examples of US and Indian companies partnering to build on that growth. Tata has ongoing joint ventures with Boeing and Lockheed Martin. Raytheon is investing in Bengaluru manufacturing and design. And General Atomic is engaging with Third Eye Tech and Bharat Forge. Each new partnership helps to ensure the economic resilience needed to maintain a free and open Indo-Pacific region, and we look forward to addressing your questions. Thank you. Corey.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now I'd like to introduce Jed Royal, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Indo-Pacific Security Affairs. He is a career member of the Senior Executive Service, oversees Indo-Pacific Security Affairs' extensive portfolio spanning China, Taiwan, and Mongolia, East Asia, South and Southeast Asia, and Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Central Asia, and works across the national security enterprise to synchronize Indo-Pacific security affairs activities with foreign policy objectives. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much. It's an exciting time for me to be here in Bengaluru for Aero India, and I just wanted to start by extending my congratulations to the government of India for what will undoubtedly be a very impressive week coming up. We're at a unique moment in the U.S.-India partnership. Our countries are more closely aligned than at any other time in history, driven by our converging strategic interests and our shared vision for the region. From our perspective, we know that a free and open Indo-Pacific requires a strong and militarily capable India. And the United States is excited to partner with India in promoting this shared vision for the future. The Biden-Harris administration is focused on putting maximum effort into bolstering India's military capabilities and rise as a defense industrial power. 2 weeks ago, I was proud to represent the Department of Defense as the defense rep, for the U.S. and Indian National Security Advisors meeting for the new initiative on critical and emerging technologies. This partnership is aimed at transforming our technology partnership and at elevating our cooperation. Defense industrial cooperation was a key focus of those discussions, and I look forward to using this visit to advance this work. And while this initiative is new, this is not a new phenomenon. American defense firms have been integrated into India's defense ecosystems for decades, and the United States is very proud of that fact. These close partnerships have generated tens of thousands of jobs in India and enabled critical transfers of technology and manufacturing expertise. U.S. companies have established engineering centers and manufacturing hubs and have also invested in building R&D centers that harness India's incredibly talented scientists and engineers to advance cutting-edge R&D projects. American firms have also played a major role in supporting India's growing aerospace and defense exports. Indeed, according to Indian government export data, the United States accounts for one of, if not the largest destination for Indian defense exports in aerospace and defense products. And in the last 5 years alone, U.S. investments in India have generated roughly a quarter of India's defense exports. Clearly, this robust and long-standing partnership goes beyond defense sales headlines. It includes a rich record of collaboration between our defense industrial bases. We are now at a moment of both opportunity and urgency, and this means that we are going to work closely with India on co-producing and co-developing technologies that will support India's own defense modernization goals and its ability to export to partners across the Indo-Pacific. From our perspective, these opportunities lie in the space where capabilities are operationally relevant for both U.S. and Indian objectives, and where our defense firms have a strong record of collaboration and where enhanced Indian industrial capacity can support global demand. I recognize that the challenges here are significant and that it is going to take a lot of creativity, flexibility, and persistence to meet our shared expectations. Both the US and India have features of our systems that require deliberate and dedicated approach to identify and implement combined projects. But I take comfort in the strong track record our countries have of working through tough issues and of building a broad-based security partnership. And ultimately, the U.S.-India Defense Industrial Partnership is an enormous part of the future that we envision in the Pentagon, fully consistent with the U.S. National Defense Strategy. Thank you very much. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Major General Julian Cheatham, Assistant Deputy Undersecretary of the Air Force, International Affairs, Department of the Air Force in Arlington, Virginia. In this position, he provides oversight and guidance for U.S. Air Force and U.S. Space Force international policy and programs, supporting national security objectives through a broad security cooperation portfolio. These security cooperation activities include political military affairs, security assistance programs, technology and information disclosure, education and training, exercises, cooperative research and development, senior leader engagements, and the Air Force Foreign Liaison Office. Major General Cheatham also assists in managing 378 cooperative research, development, test, and evaluation agreements valued at $80.5 billion US dollars, as well as 3,400 foreign military sales cases valued at nearly $250 billion US dollars. Major General Cheatham.
Well, thank you. I certainly appreciate the warm welcome, and thank you to the Government of India for hosting this world-class exhibition. It's truly an honor to be here today as part of the U.S. delegation. As Ambassador Jones remarked, our presence at Aero India underscores the importance that both the Department of the Air Force and the U.S. government place on our growing strategic partnership with India. Our relationship is built on shared values and a common vision, and that vision is of a free and open Indo-Pacific. And to advance that common vision, the United States and India have significantly expanded the range and depth of defense cooperation. Designating India as a major defense partner in 2016 was a major milestone in our relations. The status, which is unique to India, has elevated U.S. trade and technology sharing with India to a level commensurate with our closest allies and partners. So India is now one of our premier security partners in the Indo-Pacific, and we are further deepening ties through activities like exercises, cooperation agreements, and defense industrial partnerships. And just to name a few examples, we're holding increasingly complex exercises, which is a reflection of India's major defense partner status. In fact, this year marks the third time that the U.S. Air Force and the Indian Air Force have joined together in the biannual exercise Yudh Abhis, and this exercise is designed to develop interoperability with C-17 high-altitude airlift operations, as well as use of precision airdrop. In fact, we've even had Indian air crews fly on U.S. C-17s and vice versa to share lessons learned. Now, these efforts help focus future training efforts, such as the upcoming exercise COPE India in April of 2023, and that will expand beyond mobility aircraft to also include combat aircraft. We are strengthening our ability to communicate and operate jointly. India's growing use of defense equipment from the United States and other Western partners has not only strengthened India's military, but it has also increased our interoperability. Now, that interoperability is paying huge dividends today. India is currently providing critical aid and supplies as part of Operation Dost, and this is the ongoing earthquake relief effort in the Republic of Turkey and Syria. In fact, India has used 5 of its C-17s to deliver more than 135 tons of specialized equipment and other relief material. This includes a field hospital and search and rescue personnel. In addition, India has also used a C-130J aircraft to transport more than 6 tons of supplies, much needed supplies, to Syria. And as a side note, India has the largest C-17 fleet outside of the United States. Its 11 C-17s regularly crisscross around the globe. Our security partnership also extends beyond acquisitions to include ongoing efforts on defense industrial cooperation. Through the U.S.-India Defense Technology and Trade Initiative, the United States and India work together on co-production and co-development of defense equipment. Under DTTI, we signed the first aerial-launched UAV co-development project agreement in September of 2021, and this was the largest research and development effort between our two militaries. This co-development agreement further operationalizes India's status as a major defense partner and builds upon our existing strong defense cooperation. And last, but certainly not least, is increasing emphasis on starting space cooperation. Now, this includes sharing space situational awareness information, which will help set the conditions for a stable, secure, and accessible space domain, and future discussions that we welcome on areas of potential space defense cooperation. Now, as democracies bookending the Indo-Pacific, the United States and India share a common vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific. It is these forms of mutually beneficial engagement that build trust, increase interoperability and information sharing, and bolster our strategic partnership. Again, we appreciate this opportunity to meet with our Indian partners and further our defense cooperation in support of our shared values. So thank you again to Ambassador Jones, the Government of India, the industry associations, and everyone else involved in planning the next few days. It is an absolute privilege to be here to help strengthen the partnership between our two great nations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rear Admiral Michael Baker is the Senior Defense Official and Defense Attaché at U.S. Embassy, New Delhi. Baker is a Navy Foreign Affairs officer with experience building partner capability and capacity, enabling U.S. coalition operations, leading military attaché operations, and directing international strategy and plans in the Africa Command, European Command, Indo-Pacific Command, and Central Command areas of responsibility. Admiral Baker.
Thank you. Excuse me. As we mark the one-year anniversary of the U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy, we are excited to be in Bengaluru for Aero India. The U.S.-India defense relationship is an important element of that Indo-Pacific strategy, and our defense partnership is stronger than ever. This week, you will have the chance to see American air power operating alongside Indian air power. We plan to have a variety of aircraft here. We have one of our largest delegations ever, and the U.S. Air Force Indo-Pacific Band will play at a variety of venues around Bengaluru this week. India and the United States train, exercise, and operate together to deter aggression and advance a free and open Indo-Pacific. India and the United States build advanced military capability together that enables our maritime democracies to provide security for a free and open Indo-Pacific. The India and U.S. defense partnership is stronger than ever, and we are better together. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have time for some questions. Please raise your hand and a cordless microphone will be brought to you. Please introduce yourself in your media outlet and ask your question.
Hello, good morning. It's me. I'm Madhu from ANI News. When we talk about the collaboration and the invasions, can you tell us something about the relationship between the US and India, which is in manufacturing sector from last several years, how close we are coming together?
So the United States and India already collaborate significantly in production of defense capabilities together. Every Apache helicopter fuselage is made in India. And I think you have seen in the press recently the first delivery to the Indian Army now, with the Indian Air Force already operating. That's US Apaches, that's Apaches that may go to other countries. So that's a significant example. There are others that we do in artillery rounds, in wings for aircraft like C-130, and in a variety of other areas. So that collaboration is rich already. That collaboration in and of itself is also a transfer of technology, as know-how and new manufacturing capability has come to India through that relationship. And we're now in the space of talking about the next steps for more advanced technological collaboration.
I'm Praveen Sani from the Force magazine. I have a couple of questions, and I'm sure they'll benefit everybody. Let me start with, the first question is America offering or has it already offered the F-35 to India? That's one. Second, all the speakers have mentioned the need for a free and open strategy or rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific. Now, who's the aggressor? That's my second question. Third question is that under the signing, Doval was there, and this was signed. The ICET was signed there. So under this, what are the priorities of the technology supply chain? The decoupling that is going on, what are the priorities where India will collaborate with Americans? Next is, could you please tell us what is the latest work which is going on the DTTI, which is what General Cheatham mentioned? And what does it mean being a major defense partner in specific terms insofar as interoperability is concerned in building up the capacities and capabilities? Thank you.
So on the case of, is the United States offering F-35, we are still at the very early stages of India considering what it is interested in for its next generation Air Force fighter. Those discussions on the India side are still very early, and so I would say it's far too premature to talk about that in any kind of detail.
Thanks for those questions. I'll jump in with just a couple of responses. First, you've mentioned the importance of the rules-based international order and the free and open Indo-Pacific. These are watchwords that are important to us at the Department of Defense to make sure that as we think about the way that we mature partnerships in this region, India being a major defense partner, that we have thought comprehensively about stability and security issues. And so what we're trying to do is create a relationship that is at multiple levels, layered at multiple levels, that allows us to think together, to transfer information, to transfer capability, knowledge, to exercise and train together in a manner that allows us to meet the current security environment. And so that's kind of what we're getting at when we talk about a free and open Indo-Pacific, which, as you know well, is under duress. You mentioned ISET as well. Areas of cooperation. There were it was a very ambitious agenda that was set forth by the two national security advisors in Washington. As I said, I was proud to represent the Department of Defense for those discussions. Underneath that, one of the key areas will be a new defense technology, defense innovation roadmap, and we very much want to support that. We have a couple of proposals that I have brought with me here to Bengaluru to be able to discuss with my Indian counterparts to make sure that we are not only being ambitious but pragmatic, that we have near-term proposals that allow us to get off the ground and to move quickly in implementation of the ISET. And so that's the one that I'm representing here is the Defense Industrial Cooperation component of that.
Any areas, can you specify, please?
Well, the proposals that I'm bringing here are related to artillery and mobility, and so those are the two areas that are first off. But we're not capping our ambition there. We have some other very interesting ideas that are bubbling in our two systems that we'll look forward to announcing when they're a little bit more mature. I should also mention that under this roadmap, we're also looking to create a new startup relationship within the defense industrial sector. So startups in the United States working with startups in India that can think creatively about how to use those technologies to advance our mutual security interests. Thanks.
DTTI.
Yes, and thank you for your question. So regarding DTTI, certainly there has been progress. With respect to the air-launched UAV, this project arrangement, as I mentioned, was signed last year. We're expecting that we will conduct flight testing as early as the fall of 2023. That will occur in a range in northern India as well as one in the United States. So originally we'll develop the sensors on that package. We expect that particular UAV most likely to be launched from a C-130J aircraft. So that signifies, it's a 7-year project arrangement, so it's a long-term agreement, and that also involves sharing technology transfer. So that is a great step in the relationship. As far as the major defense partner, if you look at the United States does more joint exercises in India than any other country. That's just one example of the importance of that relationship and why India was designated as such. Thank you.
My name is Yusuf Unjawala. I have about 3 questions. Under the recent ISET, one of the items reported was on setting up a GE facility in India, which the US is considering. What is the nature of clearance that we are likely to see? Because what kind of technologies will be shared ultimately? Because India ultimately wants to manufacture its own fighter engines, not just have a foreign manufacturer in India. Secondly, do you have a comment on the recent reports in India that Indian Navy has finalized the Rafale for its carrier fleet? And finally, just taking off from the F-35 point, will we see that as a part of flying display over here? And do we read anything more about that as a signal to India, despite India buying the S-400 air defense system, something the US has denied its treaty ally, Turkey? Thank you.
Yep, thank you for that series of questions. I'll just jump in on the ISET piece and the GE facility. GE has submitted a manufacturing license in Washington to the Department of State with other components that are going to be working on that. I'm not able at this point in time to get into specifics because that manufacturing license is under review, but we feel quite encouraged that it does include quite an ambitious set of manufacturing proposals within that, and we very much want to see this through. So look forward to discussing more of that with our officials from the Government of India going forward this week. Thanks.
Admiral Baker.
Thank you. On the discussion of F-35 and F-18 and the Rafale, the first point of order of this is aircraft that the United States brings to Aero India are first and foremost to support India's air show and to demonstrate the strength and the closeness of our partnership. These are not aircraft that we bring only because we may think that there's an acquisition element of this. It's the strength of the relationship. You have on the ground right now at Yelahanka 2 FA-18 Hornet aircraft. Of modern aircraft, simply the most battle-tested carrier strike fighter of all time. Here to support India in this air show and to show the closeness and our readiness to come out into this theater. With regard to F-35, if it were to come to this air show, it would be for the similar kind of space. This would be to bring the most advanced fighter in the world into India's premier air show and support our partner in a very strategic way. So this is completely a decision for the sovereign government of India. My understanding is that this decision still lies with the government and that there's not been a final determination, so I'm simply not in a position to comment on that.
B-21 and many other which you are planning for 23, 24. We were expecting that in Aero show. Is US planning to bring them up in next year? B-21 Rider and many other?
So what I can address is what we're doing this year in Aero India. As I said, we already have 2 F-18 on the ground. We also have 2 F-16 Vipers on the ground. And you should keep your eyes in the sky and watch out for the rest of the week for other aircraft that will be coming later.
India's defense policy taking a major shift towards Atmanirbhar, that is Make in India. Will there be a shift in defense diplomacy, or what is your expectation of India?
Yep, thank you for the question. I think that shift has been underway, and what we're seeing is the next evolution of that shift now. We think that the Make in India regime allows some significant opportunity for the United States and India to partner in new ways. And so we're spending a lot of time talking with our Indian counterparts about how to make sure that we're using that rubric, that framework to greatest effect. So I think the defense diplomacy that you're referring to is already well underway at this point, and we're simply building from strength to strength when it comes to our ability to work together for co-production, co-development, and a broader set of military trade.
From an earlier comment Admiral made, I mean, seems like you would be open. Seems like you'd be open to sell the F-35 to India if there is a ask from the Indian government. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is we haven't been asked. We haven't had those kind of high level of discussions. India, from what I can tell, is very focused on building its own future fighters. And so the point of F-35 isn't about foreign military sales. It's about the closeness of a defense partnership of two maritime democracies with great air power, with great naval power, with great land power, collaborating to really provide deterrence, defense, and security across the region.
Could you please, Mr. Royal, tell us once more exactly what is meant by open and Indo-Pacific? I mean, there has to be some aggressor there for all this going on. The partnership getting integrated into your integrated deterrence. What is it about? Is there an aggressor? What is it?
I'll make a couple of comments, and then I'm happy for Admiral Baker to jump in as well. I think you and I both know that the world is changing and that there are constantly threats that are around the world. We're not here at Aero India to dwell on that. We're here to dwell on the opportunities presented in the U.S.-India defense partnership. And the opportunities are rich, and we're going to dig into that very much over the coming days here. So I don't want to get into a discussion with you on specific elements of the threat environment as it exists right now. I do want to very much convey to you that we're excited about the future of the U.S.-India defense partnership. We've got a lot to offer, and I know India does as well. Admiral Baker.
Thank you. You know, I would add, I understand your point, and in diving down deeper into this, let's back out a little bit. The maritime domain, the Indian Ocean and the Pacific, and the amount of trade and the amount of people whose lives are interconnected across those bodies of water. Over the last 75 years, they've had incredible peace, security, stability, and prosperity because of the rules-based international order and our ability to ensure the free flow of fair trade and commerce. There can be any number of threats to that freedom of movement, of commercial traffic, of our own militaries, of our own people. And India and the United States share a very common interest. It overlaps in deep ways to ensure that the Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean remain secure, stable, free, and open for our joint prosperity.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Over here. Microphone, can we get a microphone?
I'm Narendra from Indo-Asian News Service. My question to you is that you have been stating that India is a partner of choice as far as defense is concerned. But if you look at the past, Russia has been a very strong ally of the Indians. How much does this unsettle the US, and where exactly are you seeing the future? I mean, are you going to look at them, at India, as a bigger partner with US rather than the Russia?
I think my colleagues have said it very well as to the extensive interest that the United States has in cooperating with the maritime democracies that form the Indo-Pacific region. These goals are overarching. They affect and support tens of millions, billions of people. And that's where we're concentrating our focus and concentrating our effort. Certainly in terms of Russia, that's almost a separate question in terms of the unjust war that Russia has undertaken against Ukraine. But that does not mean that the conversations here are focused on that. They're not. They're focused on exactly as my three colleagues here have spoken, on the partnership that we have with India and would like to build with India to support these very, very important global goals of a free area, of going after the issues that affect our peoples, such that involve commerce, that involve climate change, that involve trade, that involve health pandemics and health issues, all of the issues that we hear about in everyday press reports that affect people's everyday lives.
Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Ambassador Jones and our Department of Defense colleagues. If you could just step forward for an official photo in front of the table, please.